Hello friends. What happens when the water bearer meets the fish? Two souls, both drawn to mystery, freedom, and intuition, but in wildly different ways. The Aquarius man, all electric thoughts and rebellious ideals, crosses paths with the Pisces woman, a dreamy ocean of emotion and empathy. Can air and water mix without one vanishing into the other? Let's dive deep, really deep, into what this pairing looks like in love, sex, marriage, friendship, and even business. This isn't just another sun sign overview, it's a cosmic story, one full of surprises, sweet moments, and maybe even a few storms. Love, when minds meet hearts. Imagine this, an Aquarius man wandering through a quiet, late-night bookshop, his fingers tracing the spine of a dense book on theoretical physics, not because he needs it, but because he's obsessed with understanding how the universe really works. He's a solitary figure, lost in abstract thought, always 5 steps ahead of the present moment. He doesn't notice people much, but then she walks in. A Pisces woman, with eyes like low-tide moonlight and a presence so gentle it almost feels imaginary. She glides between the aisles like she belongs to a different realm, one made of poetry, art, and feelings too deep for language. When their eyes meet, it's not dramatic, but it's undeniable. It feels like the first spark in an old forgotten dream. Their connection is instant, but not simple. It's as if their souls recognize each other, but their languages are foreign. Aquarius is ruled by Uranus, the planet of innovation, rebellion, and unconventional thinking. He's the kind of man who falls in love with your ideas, with your intelligence, your originality, your vision. He doesn't do small talk, doesn't play emotional games. He's driven by purpose, often lost in possibilities no one else can see. Pisces, ruled by Neptune, is his spiritual opposite, emotional, intuitive, dreamy, and deeply romantic. She doesn't want to think about love. She wants to feel it, breathe it, become it. Her heart is a sanctuary, and love, for her, is almost a sacred state of being. In the beginning, their romance is electric and poetic. Aquarius is mesmerized by Pisces' compassion, by how effortlessly she reads between the lines of every interaction. She feels the world in slow motion, noticing details he'd miss entirely. And she is equally captivated by his restless mind, how he talks about the future as if it's already here, how his eyes light up when he speaks of change, of progress, of something no one else understands yet. Together, they explore ideas and feelings like travelers in new terrain. Their dates might not be typical, they might discuss metaphysics over street food, or spend an entire evening watching documentaries while holding hands in total silence. Pisces brings emotion into his world. Aquarius brings perspective into hers. But over time, the differences between them begin to surface more clearly. Pisces yearns for closeness, for a kind of emotional intimacy that borders on the mystical. She wants vulnerability, late-night talks about dreams, shared secrets whispered under blankets. She wants to feel merged with her partner. Aquarius, in contrast, is someone who guards his independence fiercely. Emotional intensity can overwhelm him, even if it comes from a place of love. He doesn't mean to be distant, he just genuinely needs mental and physical space to feel whole. Where Pisces might interpret silence as disinterest, Aquarius sees it as self-preservation. Where she wants to connect, he might seem like he's floating away. This disconnect can hurt both of them. Pisces might begin to feel unimportant or unloved, believing she's pouring herself into someone who isn't ready to catch her. Aquarius, meanwhile, might feel pressured, misunderstood, or even trapped, like he's being asked to be someone he's not. But here's the twist, neither is wrong. They just operate on very different frequencies. And if they can learn to tune into each other, there's potential for a connection deeper than either of them has ever known. The key lies in what we might call emotional translation. Aquarius must make the conscious effort to express care in ways Pisces can feel, not just in thoughts or actions, but through emotional vulnerability. He needs to say what he feels, not just what he thinks. A kind word, an unexpected touch, a letter that shares something real from his heart, all of these can open a world of reassurance for her. Pisces, in turn, must learn to interpret his distance not as coldness, but as a different kind of affection. She must give him space not as a punishment, but as a gift. When she pulls back just enough, she may find him leaning in. With time, patience, and effort, their love can become a rare and beautiful synthesis. It's the meeting of two elemental forces, air and water, creating something fluid, intelligent, and deeply spiritual. Pisces brings the heart. Aquarius brings the vision. Together, they can build a love that's both inspired and inspiring, rooted in emotional depth and elevated by intellectual wonder. Their relationship won't always be easy. There will be miscommunications, moments of doubt, and times when their differences feel too vast to bridge. But if they keep choosing to understand each other, if they keep choosing each other, they'll discover a bond that transcends convention. A love that isn't defined by predictable roles, but by growth, empathy, and evolution. In the end, the Aquarius man and Pisces woman aren't just lovers. They're co-creators of a universe where feelings have structure and thoughts have soul. It's not a fairy tale, but it's something even more powerful, a love story grounded in transformation. Sex, a cosmic dance of body and soul. This is where things get incredibly fascinating. When an Aquarius man and a Pisces woman cross into the intimate world of physical connection, they don't just bring bodies into the equation, they bring entire universes. It's not just about attraction or pleasure, it's about experience, exploration, and expression on levels that are as emotional as they are psychological, and at times even spiritual. But the journey toward true sexual harmony between them is far from straightforward. It's like tuning two instruments that weren't built in the same century, each beautiful on its own, but capable of breathtaking music when they finally sync. The Pisces woman approaches sex like a ritual, a dream, a poetic act of vulnerability and union. She doesn't seek just physical satisfaction, she wants to dissolve into someone, to lose her ego entirely in a wave of shared intimacy. For her, the physical is sacred. Every touch has meaning. Every gaze, every breath, every sigh is a language of the soul. She's intuitive and giving, often sensing her partner's needs before he knows them himself. She prefers slow-building passion, a tender atmosphere, emotional foreplay that starts long before the lights are dimmed. A scented room, soft music, whispered fantasies, these aren't luxuries to her, they're essentials. She needs to feel emotionally safe and spiritually seen before she can fully surrender. Aquarius, on the other hand, brings a completely different flavor to the bedroom. He is ruled by Uranus, the planet of the unconventional, which means nothing about his approach to sex is ordinary. He's curious, experimental, and mentally stimulated by novelty. For him, physical connection is a playground for ideas and sensations. He's not traditionally romantic in the way Pisces might expect, but he's intrigued by what sex can unlock. It's not just about pleasure for him, it's about the experience, the surprise, the chance to do something no one else has done before. While he may not instinctively lead with emotional depth, he is exceptionally open-minded. If his Pisces partner expresses her needs with vulnerability, he will likely respond with genuine fascination and a willingness to meet her where she is. And that's where the magic begins. If Pisces is willing to let go of needing everything to feel perfectly emotional and instead leans into Aquarius's sense of adventure, she may discover entire dimensions of pleasure she never knew existed. He might suggest unusual scenarios, an impromptu rendezvous in a strange location, roleplay involving philosophical ideas, or a seduction that starts with a deep conversation about the meaning of existence. Yes, really. His foreplay can be intellectual, even cerebral, and to some lovers that might be a turn-off, but not to Pisces, if she opens her mind. She may initially hesitate, unsure whether she's stepping into something too strange. But once she trusts the space he creates, she often dives in completely. Her depth surprises him. Her willingness to go there, emotionally, physically, spiritually, turns him on in ways he doesn't always expect. In return, she invites him into her world, a world of sensations, feelings, intuition, and emotional release. She teaches him that there is beauty in softness, in slowing down, in savoring. Under her influence, he learns how to feel more, not just think. He begins to understand that eroticism isn't just found in novelty but in presence. She might guide him through long, sensual sessions where the goal isn't just climax, but connection. Where vulnerability is the turn-on. Where eye contact feels like entering someone's soul. At their best, sex becomes a powerful alchemy between them, a portal into something far greater than the sum of its parts. It's a space where his ideas become tangible and her emotions become embodied. A place where air and water dance, swirl, and reshape each other. It won't always be simple or smooth. There will be moments of misalignment. Aquarius might detach emotionally at times, confusing Pisces. Pisces might crave more tenderness and reassurance than he initially provides. But with honest communication and a willingness to grow, these two can co-create a sexual connection that is both otherworldly and grounding. Their intimate relationship, when truly aligned, has the potential to heal, transform, and elevate. It becomes more than sex. It becomes a spiritual act, a revolutionary experience, a deep merging of body and consciousness. The kind of intimacy that makes them both feel like they've touched something eternal. Unforgettable? Absolutely. But even more than that, it's uniquely theirs. Marriage, can air and water build a home? Now this is where things get real. Love is poetic. Sex is electric. But marriage? Marriage is where fantasy meets the laundry pile. It's where the honeymoon phase fades into Monday mornings, where bills arrive faster than love letters, and where moods, messes, and missed expectations can either drive a couple apart, or forge them into something unbreakable. For an Aquarius man and a Pisces woman, the transition from romance to routine is not just a shift, it's a test of emotional fluency, patience, and mutual growth. Aquarius, the eternal visionary, doesn't naturally lean toward domestic life. He's wired for revolution, innovation, and independence. Structure can feel like a trap, and the traditional roles of husband, father, provider, these can make him twitch unless he's defined them on his own terms. He may dream of a future with his partner, but he's less interested in following conventional blueprints to get there. He's not going to remember to take out the trash on Thursdays unless you explain why the ritual matters. He's not lazy, his brain is just orbiting higher altitudes most of the time. Pisces, on the other hand, has a deeply emotional relationship with the concept of home. She wants comfort, softness, emotional intimacy. She's a natural nurturer, someone who sees domestic life as a sanctuary for the soul. She wants her home to feel safe, warm, alive with energy and love. But, and this is key, she's not necessarily practical. She might create a dreamy space full of scented candles and fairy lights, but forget to pay the electric bill. She thrives in emotional harmony but often struggles with schedules, planning, and structure. Her strengths lie in feeling, not organizing. Put these two in a shared life, and you have one of two outcomes, chaos or magic. Or sometimes both in the same week. On a beautiful day, their marriage is a unique blend of imagination and heart. Their home might be filled with music, late-night philosophical debates, paint-splattered walls from spontaneous art projects, and children raised to think freely and love deeply. There might not be a set bedtime, but there will be bookshelves overflowing with dreams, and mornings that begin with coffee and curiosity. They'll laugh often, cry freely, and build a life based on shared ideals rather than rigid expectations. But on a hard day, Aquarius might emotionally disconnect when things feel too intense or mundane. Pisces might withdraw into silence when she doesn't feel heard or supported. Without grounding practices, their house could feel like a drifting ship, beautiful, but directionless. She may begin to feel invisible, he may feel emotionally burdened. And in a worst-case scenario, they could end up speaking entirely different emotional languages, lost in translation and unsure how to find their way back to one another. The antidote? Intentional structure. Not the kind that cages them, but the kind that supports their growth as individuals and as a couple. They need routines, yes, but ones that feel meaningful. A no-phone dinner once a week where they truly connect. Morning meditations or evening walks to keep their emotional thread strong. A shared notebook for dreams, goals, and grievances. Not just communicating logistics, but checking in emotionally, regularly. Aquarius needs to work on showing up in the small, unglamorous moments. Pisces needs to learn to self-soothe during his emotional absences and not take his detachment personally. Aquarius brings vision to the marriage. He sees the big picture, the future they're building, the values they're instilling in their family. Pisces brings soul. She brings feeling, empathy, and the kind of intuition that anchors their relationship in heart-based truth. If they align their values, especially around family, emotional needs, and personal freedom, they can create a marriage that feels like a sanctuary from a chaotic world. A marriage built not on convention, but on conscious connection. But, and this is non-negotiable, both partners must grow. Aquarius must move closer to the earth, learning to be present, emotionally available, and attentive to the real-time needs of his partner. It's not enough to love her in theory. She needs him to show up in moments, not just plans. And Pisces must learn to build emotional resilience. To trust her own intuition without becoming overwhelmed by it. To speak her needs clearly, without waiting for him to guess them. If they commit to growing not just with each other, but because of each other, their marriage becomes more than just sustainable, it becomes transformational. It's not about perfect harmony. It's about conscious effort, mutual respect, and the shared belief that love is worth the work. And when air and water find their rhythm, they don't just build a home, they create an atmosphere. A space where love is a current, always moving, always flowing, shaped by wind and tide. Friendship, the visionary and the empath. Here's where they truly shine. Even if romance fizzles out, even if love doesn't survive the storms of intimacy, an Aquarius man and a Pisces woman can still cultivate a friendship that feels nothing short of cosmic. In fact, in many cases, friendship is the ideal realm for this duo. It gives them just the right balance of connection and freedom, without the emotional pressures that can challenge their romantic bond. As friends, they're free to be exactly who they are, one a boundary-pushing thinker, the other a boundless feeler, and instead of clashing, their differences become their superpowers. Aquarius is the eccentric visionary, a one-man think tank of brilliant, bizarre, and occasionally baffling ideas. He's the type to call at 2 a.m. with the sentence, "Okay, hear me out, what if we started a floating bookstore that also rescues sea turtles?" He doesn't need his friends to understand everything, he just needs them to listen and laugh and maybe help him build a prototype. And Pisces? She's the dream friend who says yes. Not only does she say yes, she shows up with biodegradable glitter, a sea turtle adoption kit, and herbal tea to keep them grounded. Her imagination doesn't just match his, it enhances his. Where he sees the big picture, she adds texture, emotion, and warmth. Their friendship thrives on the fact that neither of them operates according to the typical social script. They don't need surface-level small talk or practical exchanges. Instead, they dive deep from the start. They share their weirdest dreams, most unfiltered thoughts, and strangest fears without fear of judgment. Aquarius never mocks Pisces for her emotional openness, in fact, he finds it refreshing. He's fascinated by how attuned she is to human feelings, how she can sit next to someone and instantly sense what they're going through. And Pisces? She adores Aquarius's boldness. His ability to think differently, to challenge systems, to laugh at convention, it gives her courage. She feels more imaginative, more alive when he's around. They also bond over causes. Human rights, climate change, animal welfare, mental health, they're drawn to missions that transcend personal gain. Aquarius approaches activism with strategy, radical thinking, and the desire to disrupt outdated systems. Pisces brings compassion, storytelling, and emotional intelligence to the table. Together, they make an ideal team, head and heart, rebel and healer, logic and intuition working in harmony. Whether they're volunteering, fundraising, or just brainstorming how to make the world better, their energy is magnetic and contagious. But even the brightest constellations have shadows. Challenges do exist. One of the biggest: communication, or the lack of it. Aquarius can be famously aloof. He may disappear for days, even weeks, not because he's upset, but because he's mentally chasing a new idea or simply needs space. To him, this is normal. To Pisces, it can feel like abandonment. She may not say anything, she often doesn't, but she feels everything. She internalizes the silence, turning it into quiet sorrow or self-doubt. And if she doesn't speak up, that sorrow can slowly erode the bond. To survive this, they need radical honesty, and just as importantly, emotional generosity. Aquarius must remember that friendship isn't just about shared ideas, it's also about presence. He doesn't have to change who he is, but he does have to check in. A quick message, a thoughtful gesture, a small sign of connection goes a long way for Pisces. And Pisces? She must learn to speak her needs clearly. Aquarius isn't heartless, he's just not always emotionally intuitive. If she can say, "Hey, I miss you," instead of waiting for him to guess it, their friendship deepens rather than drifts. When they get this balance right, their friendship becomes rare and resilient. It stretches across years and distance, always picking up right where it left off. They're the kind of friends who don't need constant contact, but always hold each other in sacred space. A midnight call, a sudden road trip, a 3-hour conversation about life, love, and parallel universes, they make time feel elastic. Together, they create a friendship that isn't bound by rules or expectations. It's a soul-level connection that defies logic, and honestly, doesn't care to explain itself. In the grand scheme of things, if Aquarius is the mind that imagines new worlds, Pisces is the heart that helps them feel real. And that's what makes their friendship so enduring. It doesn't need to be flashy. It doesn't need to be defined. It just is. Quietly revolutionary, emotionally rich, spiritually alive. A bond like that? It spans galaxies, if not literally, then absolutely in spirit. Business, creativity meets innovation. Ready for the wild card? Here it is. Aquarius and Pisces might not seem like your typical entrepreneurial power team at first glance, but give them a shared vision and a blank canvas, and they can become one of the most unconventional, groundbreaking, and unexpectedly effective business duos out there. Their combined skill sets are like two rare chemicals, stable apart, but explosive together. They don't approach business the way most people do, and that's exactly why they have the potential to redefine the rules of the game. Aquarius, always 10 years ahead of everyone else, is the idea generator. He thrives in disruption. Strategy runs through his veins, but not in a corporate, by-the-book way. His version of strategy is radical, future-driven, and often fueled by a desire to push society forward. He doesn't just want to make money, he wants to revolutionize. He's the type to develop a product no one asked for but everyone suddenly needs, something like a wearable that detects emotional microshifts or a decentralized digital art museum on the blockchain. He thinks in frameworks, models, and blueprints no one else has dared to draw. Pisces, on the other hand, is the emotional and artistic core of the operation. She brings heart, branding, intuition, and an innate sense of what people feel when they interact with a product or service. While Aquarius builds the system, Pisces ensures it means something. She'll take that emotion reading app and not only give it a beautiful name and interface, she'll make sure it tells a story, connects to real-world struggles, and sparks conversations. She's a natural empath, which makes her an incredible listener, ideal for customer research, team dynamics, and designing experiences that resonate on a deep, human level. Their ideal ventures fall in the overlap between the technological and the compassionate. Think, sustainable fashion lines that tell the stories of the artisans behind them. Mental health platforms that combine AI with guided emotional journaling. Music tech that gives underrepresented voices a platform. Non-profits that use emerging tools, like VR or blockchain, not for novelty, but for impact. They are not interested in profit-only models. Their dream businesses are those that blend intellectual brilliance with emotional integrity. But for all their synergy, they're not without blind spots. Their biggest weakness? Structure, or rather, the lack of it. Aquarius doesn't like to follow instructions. He'll start at step 6 because steps 1 through 5 feel outdated. Pisces, meanwhile, avoids conflict and can drift when decisions need to be made quickly or assertively. She may hesitate to question his wild plans even when she senses they're emotionally out of sync with the market. He may get so swept up in innovation that he forgets how people feel. She may get so focused on vibes that she loses sight of the deadlines. This is where their vision risks collapsing under its own weight, unless they're smart enough to outsource structure. If they can bring in a grounded third party, a Virgo with an eye for details or a Capricorn who dreams in spreadsheets, they're unstoppable. With the right support system to anchor their brilliance, they can dream bigger, move faster, and actually deliver the impossible. For this partnership to thrive, they must embrace clearly defined roles. Aquarius needs the freedom to experiment, strategize, and push the envelope. Pisces needs space to shape the narrative, build culture, and stay in tune with the emotional temperature of their team and audience. Regular check-ins, mutual respect, and a shared mission are essential. When they know what lane they're driving in, and trust the other to own theirs, they don't just run a business. They run a movement. And it doesn't stop at startups or nonprofits. Even in corporate or collaborative settings, they shine. Aquarius is the perfect consultant for disruptive strategy or innovation labs. Pisces flourishes in roles like brand development, community leadership, and creative direction. Put them on the same team, and you'll see magic, a presentation that not only wows with fresh thinking but moves the room emotionally. What truly sets this duo apart is that they're not just working for a goal, they're working for a better world. Aquarius brings the blueprint. Pisces brings the soul. He sees the system. She sees the people within it. Together, they don't just solve problems, they reimagine what's possible. In a world increasingly craving businesses with purpose, their partnership is the blueprint for the future. If they can stay grounded, communicate clearly, and build a shared language between logic and feeling, there's no ceiling to what they can achieve. Give them the vision, the cause, and a little room to run wild, and they just might change the world. So, are they compatible? Not in the easy way. Not in the, we finish each other's sentences and always want the same takeout way. Not in the, we both love mornings and color-code our Google calendars way. Aquarius and Pisces aren't the seamless, no-effort duo you read about in glossy magazine horoscopes. Their compatibility isn't prepackaged. It's handmade, messy, magical, and often held together by late-night conversations, shared silence, and the quiet agreement that what they have is too rare to let go of without a fight. This is not the story of soulmates who glide through life in sync. This is the story of two souls who grow by colliding, by challenging each other, by learning to speak in a language neither of them knew when they met. This is not your high school sweetheart turned life partner kind of match. This is the beautiful chaos kind of connection, the one where two very different worldviews keep bumping into each other until they start to dance instead of clash. Aquarius, with his cool detachment and razor-sharp intellect, often doesn't notice the emotional waters rising around him until he's knee-deep and still trying to explain quantum theory. Pisces, with her oceanic empathy and soulful intuition, doesn't always realize when she's giving too much of herself away, dissolving into someone else's story without boundaries. But when they meet, something unexpected happens. Aquarius, the thinker, starts to feel. Pisces, the dreamer, begins to see things from a wider lens. He grounds her with perspective, she softens him with feeling. It's not always smooth, but it's rarely shallow. Aquarius teaches Pisces not to drown in emotion. He's the life raft when her waves get too high. He shows her how to hold her heart without letting it consume her, how to think through the fog of feelings without losing their beauty. He introduces her to the power of perspective, to the concept that detaching doesn't mean not caring, it means choosing clarity. Pisces, in turn, teaches Aquarius that logic alone isn't living. She pulls him out of his head and into his heart. She shows him that vulnerability is not weakness, that presence is a form of love, and that sometimes the most profound truths can't be measured or solved, they can only be felt. Her emotional fluency becomes the translation tool he never knew he needed. Together, they paint on cosmic canvases. They're not just a couple, they're creators of a shared mythology. Their relationship doesn't follow a script. It writes its own verses in constellations and watercolor dreams. One moment they're passionately debating climate ethics at a street cafe, the next they're wrapped in blankets watching silent films and not saying a word, because they don't need to. Their love is filled with unexpected color, bursts of laughter at 3 a.m., long drives with no destination, gifts that have no monetary value but endless meaning. They may argue in poems, sharp words wrapped in metaphor, and they make up with stardust, with gestures that defy logic but speak volumes. A song. A stare. A text that simply reads, "You still feel like home." They're a rare blend of heart and head, sky and sea, rebel and romantic. He's the sky, spacious, curious, always scanning the horizon. She's the sea, deep, emotional, always moving beneath the surface. He dreams of new worlds. She dreams of healing this one. He's the rebel with a mission. She's the healer with a cause. Together, they might not walk a straight line, but they leave footprints worth following. Their compatibility isn't found in sameness. It's found in the way they stretch each other into more expansive, more complicated, more authentic versions of themselves. In short, if they both choose to grow, if they accept that growth will sometimes come through discomfort, through misunderstandings, through learning to love each other's differences instead of trying to fix them, this match can become legendary. Not because it's easy, but because it's earned. Because it's stitched together with intention, empathy, and the courage to stay open even when things don't make perfect sense. This isn't love at first sight. It's love that deepens with every look. Not a perfect pairing, but a powerful one. And in the right season, under the right stars, absolutely unforgettable. If you enjoyed this astrological deep dive, don't forget to hit like, subscribe, and tap the bell so you don't miss our next Cosmic Connection breakdown. And hey, check out the links in the description for more star-powered stories and a few surprises from the universe. Until next time, stay curious, stay kind, and always trust the stars.